Well, hey there, boys and girls. Have you ever been riding your motorcycle someplace, maybe out west, and you're running 70 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you hit a hailstorm? Well, I have, and several times. And more often than not, I was riding without a windshield. Well, there's one thing about those things, they will get your attention. And that's what I hope I can do with this video. Welcome to the Kirkland Clinic at the UAB Medical Center. Okay, this story really starts with my father. He was born in 1918, son of transient coal miners from Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, where they homesteaded, but still followed coal camps all the way to Alabama, living in tents, having their children in tents with dirt floors. They were hard people. My dad was a hard man. He never went to doctors. That generation didn't. He finally went to a doctor sometime in the early 60s when he'd burned his right arm really bad. And he didn't have a left hand, so he certainly wanted to save his right one. But the only time he went to any medical people was for his glasses, to get his prescription changed. And one day in 1997, he was having a little trouble with his vision. So he goes to the eye doctor. And the eye doctor took one look at him and said, "You don't need to be here, you need to go to see this other doctor, an oncologist." Well, I don't even think my dad knew what an oncologist was. He probably thought it was another kind of eye doctor. So he goes. And this oncologist told him that he had malignant melanoma. And that's what was affecting his eyesight. I'm not even sure he knew what malignant melanoma was. But he learned. So from the fall of 1997 until August the 20th, 1998, less than a year, he went from a strong, healthy, hard man to where his body was totally emaciated. And I sat on the bed with him that night when he died. So I'd been through this with him every step of the way. 22 years later, my daughter was home for Christmas. She lives in Colorado. But we were sitting in the living room, or at least I was sitting on the couch, I think. And she was standing in front of me, and we were talking. All of a sudden she stopped and she started running her fingers through my hair. Now I got a little bald spot. But she says, "Daddy, you need to have a look at this." Well, we got the mirror and took a look at it. She said, "I think you need to have this checked." It was just a little discoloration on my scalp. So I remembered going through all that with my dad, and we fix that if I can. I made it worse. So I went and had it looked at by my GP. Well, of course, he took a little biopsy, and a few days later, I get a phone call. And it was the nurse practitioner from my doctor's office. She said, "Mr. Cohen, your labs have come back and you have malignant melanoma." Now I want to show you what the melanoma looked like when I went to the GP. Now don't pay attention to that black spot right there in the middle. That's just some scabbing and scarring from where they took the biopsy. It's only the discoloration. It's a very, very small place on my scalp. So here we are at the Kirkland Clinic. It took 2 teams of doctors, one for the original surgery, and then of course I had to have a team of plastic surgeons to repair me after the surgery. It's quite an experience, and of course here I am like some big shot waiting to go in. This next picture just shows you how small that thing is before the surgery, and I was knocked out at the time, I'm sure. Well, here's the incision. I had to take about 1/4 of my scalp off to get the good tissue again. The doctor did such a great job, I accused him of being part Comanche. But that's a lot. That's a lot of cutting there. And of course, coming out of it, I'm not looking like such a big shot anymore. Now imagine, if you will, wearing this thing sewn to your head for the next week or 2. Not pleasant. So the plastic surgeon said he wanted to cut my throat, and that's where he took it, from my neck. And this is what the skin graft looked like after they removed the plug. And of course, I have a collection of these for every time I've been admitted. Well, I've got to break away from that for a minute and tell this story about my first trip to the oncologist. During my examination at the GP, they found a lump right here under my arm, right there where my lymph node is. And so the doctor told me, so well, you may have an enlarged lymph node. And so he goes through all this talking about how cancer spreads to the lymph node. And so he wanted to send me to the oncologist, of course. So I go, and they take me in a room, and they poke and prod and do the scan on this part of my body and all. And the nurse tells me, okay, now you can get up, get dressed, and follow me down here to the room, and the doctor will be in a few minutes. Excuse me. So I walk in this room, and there's a desk. And behind the desk is a nurse. And sitting next to the nurse is a priest. And I'm thinking, oh boy, this can't be good. So after about 10 or 15 minutes, the nurse looks up, and she must have seen the look on my face. And she says, oh no. The Father is just here to help me get my computer back online. Well, everybody got a big laugh out of that. Well, I just returned from my third follow-up today at the Kirkland Clinic. I wouldn't get too close to the screen. I don't think I'm radioactive, but I am a biohazard. Today I saw the plastic surgeon that did the skin graft, and it seems to be healing up pretty nice. Still got a couple of places on it I gotta be careful about. And where they took the skin, it's healing up pretty well. Got one spot that's not there yet. Now maybe you're like me and you spend your summer riding around the country on your bike, or you spent 50 years in construction. Or maybe you're not even a biker. Maybe you're a beach goer, or a farmer, or somebody who spends all their time outdoors. Well, it doesn't really matter. Melanoma is increasing per capita in this country, and that's not fake news. The people you see on TV that stress sunblock and all are not just talking to hear themselves talk. It's the most aggressive form of cancer in a lot of cases than any. Think of a weed in the yard, and you just go out there and pull the weed up, and the root's still there. That's the way I think of it. It can ravage your body in as little as 6 weeks. So use that sunblock. Cover up. If you ride squid like I do, cover up any exposed skin. If you ride in states that don't have helmet laws and you don't wear a helmet, and I'm guilty of that myself, at least have that do-rag on your head. But you want to enjoy being outdoors, and you can do that if you just take some precautions. Am I cured? No. We won't know that for a while, I'm sure. When you buy sunblock, do a little research. They're not all what they're cracked up to be. You might want to Google NBC sunblock comparisons. They did this a couple of years ago. And some of those that have advertised they're 50 are really not but about 8 or 10. So check into it. Do your research. Do your homework. Be good to yourself. Now, if the idea of melanoma don't scare you enough, or at least get your attention, there's another part of it that should. Right here in my grubby little hands, I have medical bills, and they're still coming in. Up to now, I have $25,604.32. That's a lot of money. Now I have Medicare, and I also have a supplement policy. And I've paid a lot of copays. So we're going to have to see how this works out. But melanoma or any kind of cancer can be financially devastating. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, so I'll just say it for you. You're thinking, look, you damn fool. You've known about this for 22 years. You went through it with your father. Didn't you have enough damn sense to cover up and use sunblock on those 5,000 and 10,000 mile motorcycle rides and working in construction for 50 years? Well, I did, but maybe I just didn't do it enough. Maybe I didn't do it well enough. Maybe the fact that I have family history of it made my chances even worse. But regardless of all that, I have it. Well, that's about it for this one. I hope this video's made somewhat of an impact on you. So we'll see you on the next one, somewhere on the road, I hope. So until then, peace, love, rock and roll, Y'all all try to be nice to each other. It ain't that hard.